basics preparation, and we're going to review some notes and interviews that you had and I had with people that have finished Dark Dimension 6, and some of them had some characters that they absolutely did not like. Like, they're telling us across the board that Weaver is not good in Dark Dimension 6. But we're going to go over the general consensus, and I just want to start off with this, and I think you're in agreement with me, is that the first character to focus on and is not optional is going to be Apocalypse. What are your thoughts about that, Taco Shooter?
Yeah, that's just a fact. So Apocalypse, everything is this entire Dark Dimension, those non-trait nodes and the global nodes are tuned to go against Apocalypse. Apocalypse, a big boy Apocalypse, is ulting into these characters and then doing his basic, enhanced basic, and not killing, like not getting close to killing characters.
Right.
So now imagine not having that.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If you're not wanting to think about Dark Dimension 6 today because you do not have Apocalypse, that is okay. Go get a big boy Apocalypse first, right? I mean, focus on that. But once you have a big boy Apocalypse, you actually have to be very deliberate in your planning on what to upgrade and who to work towards if you want to get Super Skull. Like, you and I have been playing the game for 5 years, and Dark Dimensions don't just accidentally happen. You have to plan and get gear and be deliberate about it. And it's a marathon. It's super slow, but once you have a big boy Apocalypse, or once you have a baby Apocalypse, then you're going to have to start thinking about what other pieces you want to get. Now, we're going to go through each of the nodes, and I want to say that there are some differences of opinions. And I think what we're going to focus on are the no-brainers and the ones that we were told to avoid. There's a lot of optional ones and things that may change as new characters come out or as more people complete the nodes. More will be revealed. But I'm in a place today where there's a handful of characters where I know I'm going to take them in to Dark Dimension 6, and I'm not worried about upgrading them, because investing gear tier 18 is painful if you put it on the wrong character, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Resource management is what Dark Dimension is all about. And, as we were discussing, just a moment ago, prior to starting the video, these gear pieces don't fall like they're supposed to. They're not necessarily evenly spread out. That is a perfect scenario that's just not likely going to happen. You could be super skill heavy with your gear drops, super tech heavy, and really get into some serious pain points.
Okay. So, character number 2, we talked about the first no-brainer character is going to be Apocalypse. The second one is Mystic, and I heard this not Mystic, Quicksilver, and I heard this from several people. Better Ray Bill and Kalanith basically essentially said that Quicksilver is not optional in global. And the general idea is you need those 2, and then the other 3 are there just to complement those 2. And so I haven't really picked the other 3. I'm not set. I kind of tagged some, but those may change if we get a different legendary that requires different gear pieces. But that's going to be a function of resource management for me. What's your basic strategy for going to global? And then we're going to talk about the characters that we're hearing to avoid as well.
Yeah, so my basic strategy is Apocalypse and Quicksilver to start with, and then utilizing for global Black Widow, Falcon, Captain Sam Falcon, and Titania. Okay. And that has to do with that resource management. And while Quicksilver is the absolute best number 2 option for global, and then a combination of other characters, there is a legitimate option utilizing a big chunk of Rebirth. Right. That was something that Batwalk originally put out, at least I believe, and it does work. It's a bit of a slog because they don't have big damage on that team.
Yeah, I'm hearing
so it's low.
I'm hearing that OG Captain America with Peggy is pretty amazing, and I'm not sure yet. I think I'm in the same camp. I see your recommendations there. What I'm thinking about going for is, of course, Apocalypse and Quicksilver. I'm not sure about the last three. I'm gonna address that when I do it, but largely these were picked out based on me trying this naive idea that I'm gonna have equal amounts of cosmic mystic gear, which is never true. So this may change. Something that was interested, several people, including Beta Ray and Red, said that Weaver was useless and to not upgrade Weaver, or it's not actually. Red didn't say that. Red said that Weaver was useless in DD6, but he's happy with Weaver outside of DD6 everywhere else, but not. And I think that is. I mean, just go ahead and talk about that. Basically, Weaver doesn't do anything in DD6, which I had no idea.
Yeah. That just goes to how uptuned these characters are. Their health is so massive, their damage is so massive that she's essentially irrelevant. And she doesn't have, her special hits, a handful of characters, but the ult is a one hit, the basic is a one hit, and will you land the bleeds? Maybe. Will you land the stun? Maybe. You're definitely going to have to change her to a skirmisher to even have a chance.
Yeah, and that's the
goes
thing.
back to resource management.
That's what I got out of this, is that taking the wrong characters into these nodes is pretty punishing because it's actually super hard. All right, and so the general consensus is that Weaver, she gets 3 charges, and that it's not meaningful because they get stripped away very quickly through counterattacks or things like that. Let's move on to the next one, which is Cosmic, and I heard that Val and Kang are no-brainers. I already took my Kang to gear tier 18 because the problem that I'm finding in going through this is that a lot of the good characters are Mystic, and then there's not enough Mystic care to go around, but there's not a lot of good tech choices, and tech and Kang is a no-brainer. So what I'm hearing is that Val and Kang are absolute no-brainers, and then also like we were talking about Apocalypse, like in your arena right now, Kang and Apocalypse are no-brainers in the arena. So those characters are good to go. What are you thinking about in Cosmic?
Couldn't agree more. Kang and Apocalypse are the absolute easiest no-brainers for Dark Dimension. One being a mutant, one being tech, and Kang in particular, because there's not really any other tech characters. There's no you have to bring these tech characters in. Like Kestrel's an option, which is combination tech skill. And then it sort of falls off. Like there's just not other tech solutions aside from Shuri when you get to the Horseman later on.
All right, and I see that you've got, and so like for me, I think my initial thoughts are the same as yours, identical actually, and that mostly had to do with resources. And I was talking to Kelleneth, who's finished DD6, and he suggested that Kestrel was completely useless for him, and he highly recommended me not doing Kestrel and maybe picking Dormammu instead. So I just want to put that out there. But as far as current planning for me, I'm working on Vol and Kang. I feel like those two are no-brainers, just like Apocalypse and Quicksilver.
Yeah, Kestrel is going to help you with your resource management ultimately. Being a character that is both tech and skill is really going to assist with that dramatically. Her pings are not going to do what they do in War and in Crucible and all the other places that we use her, but they still will have an effect. And when paired with Vol specifically and Kang specifically, well, you've got characters that are doing significant AoE attacks. She's going to have use. She's going to get revived, and she's going to help delete the opponent.
Yeah, I've been playing around with this, trying to figure out how to get Dormammu in this. I just don't think I'm going to have the Mystic gear for it. I think I would prefer. It's going to come down to a struggle of quality or getting in quickly. It really is going to come down to that. But anyways, we're focusing on the no-brainers in this video now. Let's get to the city part, and city feels like garbage. It feels so bad to upgrade these characters, and we'll talk about Big Time Spider-Man because everybody keeps asking, but the general consensus is that Cloak and Dagger are vital, and then from there, maybe one other of the new warriors, and then 2 supports, whether that is 2099 Spider-Weaver or Shang-Chi. So talk about what you're thinking about City, and then talk about Big Time Spider-Man, because everybody's asking about Big Time Spider-Man.
Ultimately, City's going to come down to resource management and not upgrading too early. Don't start upgrading your City characters until you're ready to go into City, because most people are so far out that there's likely to be significantly better City tunes that come out. There's been rumors about another Sinister Six team for quite a while, and there's always going to be other City characters that come into the game. Just don't overinvest until it's time to go. Now, when it's time to go, and if you're ready, Cloak and Dagger do amazing. 2099 does amazing. Kingpin and Mr. Negative, and they do amazing. Shang-Chi definitely is strong. Squirrel Girl definitely has good qualities about her, but the vast majority of City's trash.
Yeah. So I'm not dumping resources into City. Like I said, so far, I'm only dumping resources into the characters I've mentioned for Apocalypse, Quicksilver, Vol, Kang. I'm kind of waiting to see. Now, let's talk about Big Time Spider-Man, who's tech City, but we don't know how long it's going to take to get 7 yellow. We don't know how we're going to get red stars, if they're going to be DPCs or what, or how many, because a 3/3 character is doing nothing in Dark Dimension 6. Like, you need 6 red, 7 yellow. Like, it is hard. And this idea that we're going to have, I don't know when we're going to have reasonable access to Big Time Spider-Man. Maybe it's an option, but right now, and he's tech. I want it to work, but I just don't know how, right?
So much of his kit is tied to war to begin with, and while yes, he's going to have a significant stat increase from a power creep standpoint compared to the vast majority of City characters, not until you get him at high stars. At low yellow stars, he's going to have a kit that's not going to work. He's going to have stats that don't work. I just and you're not going to bring in other Spider-Verse characters to give him synergy, because Spider-Verse is trash with the exception of 2099 and Weaver.
I'm not thinking about Big Time Spider-Man until somebody goes through it with Big Time Spider-Man and professes their love and how awesome it is, which is unknown at this time, right? It just doesn't seem viable. Yeah. Now, Legendary. So this is non-Horseman, and I feel like Nova and Omega Red are the no-brainers there. And then from there, it kind of gets a little bit loose. There is this idea that we're being hopeful that these, the legendary non-horsemen are going to be able to use on the last set of nodes. But other than Nova, I don't know that that's true. Like, I'm hearing that those other nodes are so challenging that you're going to have to use horsemen. For me, I'm praying that we're getting another legendary, what you think, August, and that character is not Mystic. That is what I'm praying for. Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, so I think we're absolutely getting another legendary character in August. I think the blog sort of screamed that without actually saying it. And I think 1,000% chance it's going to be Mystic, because Scopely hates us.
All right, and so it looks like you're on the same page. Like, I do not want to take Doc Ock, and you picked Doc Ock for your initial pick, and I did also. But I don't want to take Doc Ock. Doc Ock is tech, and I'm taking him only because he's inexpensive. And
I don't want to take Nick Fury.
Yeah, well, I mean.
Yeah. And I picked him too. So like right now, what's filling it out is Nick Fury and Doc Ock. Doc Ock, I'm more hopeful gets an eventual rework. Nick Fury works great how he is, and he's a really expensive skill character. Now Shuri, I feel like Shuri, hello kitty.
Yeah.
I feel like Shuri is sort of an unsung hero of Dark Dimension, and has been for a long, long time. Her speed up on spawn, her energy generation, she's essentially a battery for whoever she's powered with, and she's given defense up to whoever she's powered with. Don't sleep on Shuri. Shuri's going to be around in Dark Dimension discussion for a long, long time.
Okay, but please understand, I think Nick Fury, Doc Ock can and will be replaced by the next legendary, whatever that is, especially if that legendary is not Mystic. I think that's the way that it's going to play out. So I'm putting resources into Nova and Mega Red. and Shuri, but the other two, I'm just kind of wait and see. And then lastly, Apocalypse is done. Nova's going to be done, right?
Yeah.
And then Red Hulk, I think I already took my Red Hulk to 18 because I use him every day in the arena, and he's, you know, such a good character, right? Like, I'm going to get use out of him. So, like, I'm getting use out of him today. So, like, I'm comfortable recommending Apocalypse, Red Hulk, and Nova. And then from what I'm hearing, that these nodes are bonkers hard without the actual horsemen. Like, throwing in Shuri and Nick Fury is just ridiculously hard. Hopefully by the time that you're here, you'll have the extra resources to put in a Morgan Le Fay, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the only horseman that is you know, we left Archangel on this infographic, but he's not very good. I don't know if he gets hard targeted, if that's coded into his kit so that he's not constantly giving the other horseman energy. I have no idea, but it was, you know, sort of banging our head on against the wall over and over using Apox and the other four horsemen, and finally you know, took out Nova and was able to breeze through it without any problem. Did a little bit of testing, you know, with Shuri and as well, and it's doable, but doesn't feel great. Again, you know, these, like with the infographic, what's up there is a best option. You know, that's for one tapping, two tapping these nodes. That's not necessarily what the majority of people are going to be able to do, and it's just not reasonable to think that that's how you get through this, because it's also not particularly fun to knock out your three nodes in one day and then sit around for 3 weeks to get into the next node.
All right, to wrap up the video, I just want to talk about the characters I'm currently working on. I'm working on Apocalypse, I'm working on Quicksilver, I'm working on Vol, I'm working on Kang, I'm working on Nova, I'm working on Omega Red, and that's about it for right now.
Yeah.
I'll move forward when I get past that. Like, I want to get through that first, and then that'll get me through the first batch of nodes, and then I'll be worried about global. Then I'll have to figure out my other three globals, and we'll cross that bridge there. Head over to Taco Shooter's channel. There's an entire video that is way more detailed than this video if you want to get into the nuts and bolts of and how these infographics are made. And this is a full interview with Beta Ray Bill, which is the first player to finish Dark Dimension 6. So the information that's provided here is from players that have completed it. We're not talking in theory stuff. And anything you want to say before we go?
No, you know, thank you. Always great time hanging out with you. And remember that you are pretty, you are smart, and you are special.
Woo! I love it.
Oh,
We're going to have a blast at TwitchCon, that's for sure.
it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Swarm. No joke. Swarm's actually really good.
I heard that, but I'm not sure about recommending it yet. I'm not